Let us set up our project, and to do that, open up your favorite terminal and then ensure you've installed Python and pip. And of course, if you've installed Python using the installer, pip should be already installed on your machine. So let's go ahead and install Django Rest Framework and Django by saying pip install Django, pip install Django, and pip install Django Rest Framework. Hit enter. So I already have them. After that, you can now create a project by saying Django admin, start project, smart content platform, like that. Then I can open this in VS Code. So code smart content platform. I can expand this. And then I can open up the terminal. And in this terminal, we can then create our first app by saying Python manage.py. Let me expand this. Manage.py startup content. Then we can go to settings.py and update our install apps. So the first one is REST framework, like that. And the other one is content.apps.content config. So this is for our app. Okay. And then we can simply run migrations by saying Python manage.py migrate. Says no such file. It is manage.py, right? And there we are done. Let us work on user authentication and registration. To do that, we shall need a package called Django Rest Framework Simple JWT. Let's install it by saying pip install Django Rest Framework dash simple JWT and hit enter. And there it is, Django Rest Framework Simple JWT. And then now we can go to settings.py and add some configurations. I'll scroll to the bottom and then create a dictionary. It will be called REST underscore framework. And the first key here will be default underscore authentication classes. So make sure you spell this correctly. Many times I end up writing the wrong spelling for this, and it has caused me trouble. Then after that, we can now set that default class, which will be REST underscore framework underscore simple JWT dot authentication dot JWT authentication, like that. And then also I think what we need to do, actually I think this is actually a list. Okay, this is a list because actually are classes. So you supply a list of classes, and this is our first one, and it will be the only one we shall use in this project. Okay, so REST framework underscore simple JWT dot authentication dot JWT authentication. And then after that, we can probably set up configuration for pagination. So we shall need pagination in this application. And maybe to show you how that will work, we can say maybe we can deal with pagination later. Let's go ahead with the application to just deal with only authentication. So I'll go ahead to the app, okay, and then create a new module called serializers. Serializers, if I can only spell this correctly, .py. And in this file is where we're going to create our first serializer that will be responsible for serializing and deserializing instances. Okay, so let's go inside here and say class user registration serializer must inherit. Okay, it will inherit from something, and it will inherit from a class that we're going to import up here. So we shall say from REST framework. So I need to choose probably by selecting a Python interpreter, which is this one, and then I'll say from REST underscore framework, it has to be lowercase, import serializers. Then now I can inherit serializers dot model serializer, and then we can now have, of course, our password field, which will be equals to serializers dot character field, and we can make this write only. Okay, this should only be a write only field, write underscore only equals to true. Simple as that. Then we can have the email, okay, which will be serializers dot email field. As simple as that. Then this serializer will work on the instances of the user model. So we need to import a user model. We shall say from Django dot contrib dot auth dot models import user, and then we shall come here and create a nested class called meta, and we shall have our first attribute saying model equals to user. So this serializer will be serializing and deserializing instances of the user model, and then we need to specify the fields that should be serialized and deserialized, and that will be, for our case, probably only the username, the password, and the email. Okay, and remember our password will only be write only. So we can add validation to this, and to define validation, you say define a function that should start with validate, okay, underscore, then the name of the field we want to validate. In this case, we want to validate username, and shall pick that value and say if user dot objects dot filter username equals to value that exists. In other words, if we find an instance or at least one record, okay, where we have a username whose value is the same as this one, which we are trying to validate, and there exists a record in our database, then we should raise a validation error saying raise serializers dot validation error username already exists, and then after that you can simply return the value. So if you have any other check you want, you can add it before this last return statement. Then we can also validate the email. You can say define a function validate underscore email. So all these if you're validating a particular field, your function must always start with the keyword validate underscore then the name of the field. And then of course this is an instance method, so self must be the first argument, then the value that we shall receive, and then you can simply say if user dot objects dot filter, we find that the email, an email already exists, this email that we want to save exists, then we tell you by raising an error that there is an email that already exists, like that. So when you're done, we can now return that value. Okay, so next up, we need to deal with a method called create. So create will be responsible for creating instances after our data has been validated. So create will receive all Django Rest Framework will pass the validated data to create. So inside here, I can simply remove this line of code and say user is equals to user.objects.create user, like that. Okay, and you shall see the username will be equals to validated data dot get username. As simple as that. Then the password will be equals to validated data dot get password, like that. And then finally the email will be equals to validated data dot get email. So this function can only be called when all the validations have been performed successfully. So finally, we can return the user who has been created. So with that, we now need to create a view. So to create a view, go back to our app, goes to views.py, and then inside here, we can create our first view, which will be a class, shall say user registration view. And to turn our class into a view, shall need to import, I'll remove this because we don't need it, shall say from REST framework dot views import the API view. She shall turn this class into an API view through inheritance. And then the API view will give us a method called post. And post will have the current request passed to it. And using inside here, we can make use of our serializer by passing all the data to the serializer by importing it first of all. Shall say from serializers, from .serializers import user registration serializer. Then here we can use it by passing the data. By saying the data that we want to serialize and deserialize will be equals to request dot data. Okay, so we're getting all the data from the request and passing it to the serializer. Then if the serializer is valid, meaning the validation has passed, serializer that is valid, what do? We can save it. We can say serializer dot save. Okay, and that will trigger this create method. After that, we can now return a good response. Say return a response, but that has to we need to import something. Say from REST framework dot response import response, like that. So you can say we need to return a response object, and this one will have a message. Okay, it will be just be JSON, but to represent JSON, you shall need a Python dictionary with a key having message, and the message will be user registered successfully. As simple as that. And then we can have, say, command put a status. Okay, the status will be we need to import again from REST framework dot state, maybe from REST framework import status, like that. Then here we can say the status will be status dot http underscore, is it created? Yes, 201 is the correct status for this. So when we are done with that, we can now go to our URL patterns. Right here, you can say urls.py, and then you can say from Django .urls import path, like that. Then after that, we can also say from views import our user registration view. Then you can now say URL patterns, which is the usual Python list that we are aware about. Create a fast path that can be API/register. Okay, probably with a forward slash. Then we shall say the view here will be user registration view dot as view, like that, and the name of this view will simply be equals to user registration, like that, as simple as that. So let us run this project, make sure everything is okay. Python, maybe before that we can make migration. Python manage .py. There's no need actually for making migrations. We haven't made any change to our models. Manage.py run server. Looks like everything is okay. So to test our API, we shall need Postman. So go to your extensions and look for Postman. Okay. Postman is right here. So make sure you install it. So mine right now shows uninstall because I've installed it. Install Postman. After you've done with that, you can now find Postman among your extensions, and now you can send HTTP requests. When it's your first time, you might need to create an account. So create an account, sign in, and get back to VS Code, or you can actually download their desktop app and use it. But I'll choose to use the extension in VS Code. So I'll create a new HTTP request. And maybe before that, one more thing we need to do is to come here to the root urls.py and import include from Django.urls, say include, like that. Then you can say path. When you hit the root endpoint, we shall take you to, shall include all the URLs from content.urls, like that. So I need to kill this, then restart the server. Okay, that looks okay. So let's test. Get that, paste there. This will be a post request, and we need to send some data. This will be raw data, which will be JSON. And let's try, say a username will be test. The password will be test password. And what else? The email will be test email at, there's a test at gmail.com, like that. So let's send the request. So we say 404 not found. So we need the correct endpoint, which is API/register, like that. Okay. So let us send. We see we get a response saying 201 created. So if we go, if I quickly scroll this, you see we get our message, user registered successfully, and the status is 201 created. So that endpoint worked successfully. If we try to send another request, we get an internal server error saying expected a response, blah, blah, blah. So with it seems you're not returning anything at the end. If we come here, okay, and actually I see my mistake. So when everything worked successfully, we are returning a response. What about when things fail? When things fail, we can now say return a response. By this time, it will be a different response. It will have the serializer dot errors. Okay, so that the user knows what went wrong, and the status will be status dot 1 for a bad request. Okay, 400, saying you did something wrong. So if you go back to Postman and you send a request, you still get a bad request. And then when you come here to the response, if I can just one kind of reducing this slightly, so we see what was returned. You see, says a user with that username already exists. If we come down here, says email already exists. So if I change this to test one like that and hit send, you see it is successful. If I hit send again, we get a bad request with the messages saying a user with that username already exists and email already exists. So this is good enough. So let us complete this by creating other endpoints. So that is how Postman is very useful for testing our APIs in a simple and quick way. Next up, we can now create a new path, and this path will be for logging in. So shall say API / token. Spell this correctly, / token with the /. And then for this, we shall need to import something in between the package we installed. And that package is called Rest Framework simple JWT that we installed, okay, and configured in settings.py. So from this package, we shall import two views, okay. One is called the token, is it token obtain pair, if I remember properly. So it's in that.views import, okay, token obtain pair view, that one. So here we shall say token obtain pair view dot as view. As soon as you see anyone saying dot as view, you know that this is a class. And then we can give it a name, and we say the name is token underscore obtain underscore pair, like so. So we can now go back to Postman. Maybe I will save this, okay, or maybe ignore it for now and say /API / token, not login, but token, like that. And then if we supply the username and the password for this user and the username, we should get a token. When I see it send, says bad request, let us find out what went wrong or what message says username is required. All right, so we can include the username and hit send, and there we are. We get a refresh token and the access token. So that is very good. So we have a refresh token and an access token. Next up, we need one more endpoint that is provided. You can say API / token / refresh. Okay, so you need to, if you know what a refresh token is, you can research about it and the difference between the access token and refresh token, but that is kind of beyond the scope of this tutorial. But if you need help with that, I can explain. So you need another endpoint for creating the refresh token that would be called token refresh view, that one, and it's also a class-based view. So shall say token refresh view dot as view, like that, and then the name would be equals to token refresh. As simple as that. Maybe I'll create the R as lowercase, like that. So you can test this out in your free time. It's actually very simple. Okay, let's now look at something else. So something small I wanted to show you is we can come here to REST framework and configure so many things like the default authentication class. We can also configure stuff like the default pagination class. So I want to configure this early. Maybe I should show you something cool. You can say default pagination underscore class will be REST underscore framework dot pagination dot page number pagination. So that's the type of pagination we shall use here. And then for every page, we shall need 10 records. We can say page underscore size is 10. And then something also we need to do that I saw here is that we need to ensure the access token lifetime maybe lasts some time so that we don't have to generate new ones every time as we test our application. So I'll just copy this. And this can be, has to be out of this, out of the dictionary, not inside, but out. Okay. Okay, looks like I made a mistake. Come back here, copy that well, and then paste, close the dictionary, and then we can have this at the top, right there. And then we can extend this to 10 minutes, no consistent, maybe 1 day. As simple as that. Access token lifetime will be 10 minutes and the refresh token lifetime will be 1 day. As simple as that. Maybe we can run our project to make sure everything is okay. Manage.py, run server, go to content, models.py, and let us create our first model. This will be class content. And return it to a model, it will inherit from models.model. And then we shall have attributes, we shall have a user, which will be a foreign key, models.foreign key. So we need to import user from django.contrib.auth.models, import user. So this will be a one-to-many relationship to the user model. And then on delete, we shall say models.cascade, like that. So this means there's a one-to-many relationship between our content model and the user. So a user can create a number of content instances. Then we shall have another public attribute here, which will be a topic, which will be equals to models.carfield. And the maximum length for this, we can say probably 300 characters, or maybe let's say 400. Okay. Then we shall have also the but this is too much for a topic. Shall say maybe 200. Okay. Then we shall have the generated text that we shall get from the AI. This will be equals to models.text field. Okay, like that. And then after that, we shall have tags for this content. And we shall have a list of tags and we shall use a JSON field to represent this. And for this, the default will be equals to list. Okay, so it will be a list of tags. Okay, so this again, like I said, will be for storing content tags. And then maybe you can simply have the time this was created. So created at equals to models.datetime field. As simple as that. And we can now say auto now add equals to true, so that Django populates for us this field automatically. And then maybe you can have that definition for an instance in string as a string, and here I can simply return self.topic. And again, this is just Python. Okay, like you see, these are just Python imports, Python class and inheritance, public class attributes, and instance method. And because this is a Danda method, so if you don't know about this, you can have to revise your Python skills, your Python basics. So let's now run migrations by saying Python manage the py make migrations, then Python manage the py migrate. As simple as that. And then you can simply run to see that everything is still okay by saying run server. It's time to integrate Ollama. Ollama is a tool that helps us to get up and running with large language models, and we can simply go to their GitHub to know more about some of the things they have. If you scroll, you see that they have a Python library called Ollama Python. Let us check it out. And then, of course, you can see that it can be installed using pip. And this is an example of how to use it. So before we use it, make sure you come to this site, download Ollama, and run it. The model that we're going to be using for this project is Ollama 3.2. So after you've finished downloading Ollama and you're running it on your machine, you can come here and go to your terminal and use this command and say Ollama run Llama 3.2. And for me, mine is already running. So let's go back to our code and run pip install Ollama. So you see, I already have it. And if I say Ollama run Llama 3.2, you see, I already have it, but I will exit for now. Okay. Okay, so let's cancel this. All right, so now let us create another module. This module will be called services.py. In services.py, we shall create our first function called define a function called generate underscore content, like that. And it will take the topic for which we want to generate the content. But before that, we need, of course, to import a few tools, like we can say from Ollama, import chat, and then we can go back here in our function and say we want to try and catch, because sometimes things can fail. So we can try and have except there as E and have it empty for now. Then just say except exception as E. And then in here, we can say the content response, content underscore response, which will be generated by Ollama, will be equals to chat, what we just imported up here. And chat will take some arguments. The first one will be the model we want to use, and that model in our case will be Llama 3.2. Of course, if you want to use another model, you can simply come here and look at models and then use the exact model you want. For example, you see the famous DeepSeek R1 is already been added and it has 7.6 million pulls. But for now, I'm using Ollama 3.2, which has about 8.1 million pulls. So now let's go ahead. So we shall use Llama 3.2, and then we need to have messages, okay? And messages will be a list, okay, a Python list, and inside here we can specify roles. The first role we can specify is called system. So system enables you to define the behavior of this model. For example, with system, you can have a key here called message, and then you tell it to be, you can say, act as an accountant, okay? And then after that, you can have another role still here, and this role is also a dictionary role. The key is role, and then the value will be user. This is now the message that the user will now enter, okay, saying create an accounting document. So role system defines the behavior or how the ALM should act as, and then role user simply defines the user message, something that you would request the ALM to do according to this behavior or according to the system. But for now, we don't need this. So I'll only have a role user, and our message will be, need to edit this into an F string. Our message will be write a detailed blog post about a certain topic, and that will be the topic that has been passed to this function. So we shall have topic there, and then I think that's all for now. So I can go to the next line and say our generated text will be equals to content underscore response, and this will have a key called message, and then we shall have another key called content. As simple as that. And then what else do we need to do? We can generate tags. Okay, so to generate tags, we can say the tags, let's say tag underscore response will be equals to chat. Okay, and also this in a similar way, we shall have a role. So I'll copy this. We shall have a model. We shall use the same model for that, and also we shall use a similar message. This is of course a list, and for this one, of course, shall have the same thing, a role user and a message. So I'll copy and paste this there, but this time shall change the message, and the message this time will be, I'll say extract 5 keywords from this text as comma separated values, and then we can put the text, generated text. Remember, this text is referring to this first one which was generated. After that, we can come here and create the tags, and we say the tags will be equals to, shall use list comprehension. Say tags dot strip. Okay, but what tag shall we be stripping? Not tags, but tag dot strip. Why tag dot strip? Because I'm going to have a follow up here saying for tag in tag response. Okay, so tag response, we shall pick again the message, and we shall pick the content which is in the message, and then we shall split. Where there is a comma, and then can limit this to the first 5 results. So when we're done with this, we can return two things. We shall return the generated text and the tags from that text. If something goes wrong, we can say return exception, say content generation failed. Then we say maybe please try again. As simple as that. Maybe to help us track this better, we can log. So I'll go back up here and import a logger. I'll import logging. Okay, the package code logging. Then we say our logger, create a logger. Logger will be equals to logging dot get logger, and then to this we shall pass underscore underscore name underscore underscore. So down here, before returning the exception, you can say logger dot error. Okay, because it's an error. Then we can say create this as an F string and say Ollama summarize, not summarization, but content generation API error, something like that. Then you can have the error. string format like that. Okay, Ollama, maybe change the spelling here to add an A. Ollama content generation API error is CRE, and then we can now return the exception, as simple as that. Next up, so this is for content generation. We need another one to help us with summarization. So I'll say define summarize underscore content. We pass the text. Okay, shall expect the text. In a similar way, we shall try some statements and say our response will be equals to chat. The model we want to use, like we already know, is Llama 3.2, and the messages will be equals to a list a list of dictionaries, and the role this time will be user still, and the content. Okay, the content. Actually, I think I made a mistake up here. If you read at this, I said role and message. If you go to the Ollama website and you check this, you scroll to their example. I don't know if they have it here, or let's go to their GitHub. Okay, you see they have role and content, not message. So we have to change all these to content. This has to be content. This one also has to be content. Yeah, so now let's continue. So the content in this case will be, and of course the content is simply the message that you're getting from the user. And the content will be, what will be content for this? We shall say summarize this text in 3 sentences. And then we can now pass the text to be summarized like that. All right, cool. So down here, we can simply return response. You can say .get message .get content. Okay, this is just one way of doing it. Then we can now accept exception as E, and then we can say logger.error. Then we say an F string Ollama summarization error str, then pass the E to it, or the error. Then say return exception, and then we can say summarization failed. Please try again. Actually, instead of returning, let us just raise. Okay, let us raise an exception, and let us also raise an exception. This will be important for us in our view. Let us now create the API views. Okay, so that will be in views.py. I'll come down here. Maybe important thing that we shall need. For example, of course, we need the API view, we need response, we need status. Then also here we shall need the generics. You'll see that very soon. What else do I think we shall need? Let's import from what else do we need? From services, what we just created previously. From services, import generate content, summarize content. What else do I think we need? I think we need a serializer. Let's first create a serializer actually. Come to serialize.py, and then we can close this. Let's scroll down here and create that serializer. So this one we shall call it content serializer, and it will also inherit from serializers.model serializer, and then we shall say class meta, define the model, which will be equals to content, So we need to import this model up here. I'll say from dot models import content. Then what else do we need? We can specify the fields. Okay. We can say give us the ID. Okay. Give us the topic. What else do we need? We need the generated underscore text. Give us the tags. What else do we need? Give us the created art. I think these are actually all. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, apart from maybe user. So let's have those. What else do we need? Now, let's go now to the views. So in the views.py, we can now create the generate content view. We can say class generate content view, and this will be an API view. And then this will have some permissions, so the permission classes, use a Python list. So I need to import something here. We shall say from REST framework dot permissions import is authenticated. Then also something else we need to import is our serializer. We shall call it the content serializer, what we just created. And then now only people who have been authenticated should be able to generate content. Okay. So this will make use of the post method, which will take self and the current request. Okay. Just like we did here in a similar way. And then after that, we can now say, we can try and catch, because like, something can go wrong. So say try except exception as E. And when things go wrong, we shall just say we should return a response. And that response will be a JSON object. And here we have to represent it as a dictionary for it to work. We shall say error. And then we pass that error, STRE. And then the status outside here, the status will be equals to status dot internal server error, like that. Okay. So now up here, I can now say the topic that we want to generate content for, it has been lowercase. The topic will be equals to request dot data dot get the topic. After that, we can now say the text that we have generated underscore text will be equals to generate content using that function we created. And then here we shall pass to it the topic. And then when we are done, remember this function returns two things. It returns the generated text and the tags. So we need to get the text and then the tags too. When we are done with that, we can now create a record in the database by saying content is equals to content dot objects. So we need to import this model. So I'll say from models import content, like that. And then here I'm going to say content dot objects dot create. Okay, we have to create. And what shall we create? We shall say the user would be equals to request dot user. Then the topic will be equals to the topic we got from the request. And then the generated text will be equals to the generated text. And the tags will be equals to the tags. As simple as that. Then now we can come down here and make use of our serializer and say content serialize and pass in the data, which is content, the instance we just created. And then after that, we can now return a response and say return a response. And the response will be the serializer data, and the status for this will be status dot http 201 created, because we have created a new record. So let's test this. Let's run our server Python manage.py run server. So it looks like everything is okay. So I'll run this endpoint again for us to get a token. I need to reduce this so that I can see the results. We need the access token. So here's the access token. So we're going to make use of it. I've copied it. But before that, we need to set up an endpoint to help us generate content. So that will be in urls.py. I will come here, put a command say path to, when we hit API / generate - content, call a view. The view we're interested in is in generate content. So actually here from views, generate content view. So I'll say generate content view dot as view, and the name will be equals to generate - content. As simple as that. And then I can add a / here and save. So you can come back here, we can go to API / generate - content. When you hit send, we get 403 forbidden, because we need to provide that token. So I'll go to authorization, bearer token, paste that token there, go to the body, and the body, I'll say the topic. The topic will be Django Rest Framework. So let us hit send. So it still says forbidden. Why is that the case? Bearer token, has the server collapsed or something? We're still getting a 403. Maybe our token already expired. So let me try to, let's try to create another one quickly. Maybe I'll save this, save as, I can create a new collection here called smart content generator, and then this one can be called generate content. Okay, then you can save it in this collection. So maybe this is save as generate content in this folder. Okay, and that should be save. For some reason it's not saving. Okay, this is weird. Generate content. All right, I'll leave that. I don't know to sort with it. So we shall go to API / token, and then I can undo all this. Well, looks like this cannot be undone. I need to say username. I think it was it test 1. Password, I can't remember the password. I hope I'll be able to remember. Password, was it test password? And then the email email is probably, was it test@gmail.com. So let's try this. Okay, so we should have a token down here. A good access token. So I'll copy it. After copying that access token, we should now be able to go back to that endpoint called generate dash content. Say hit send, still forbidden. Come here, remove that token, paste the new token, hit send. So it looks like we're still forbidden. I need to investigate this. So to fix this, we shall need probably to check the documentation. It could be something actually to do with this or this, maybe a typo. So I'll just go to the documentation, copy these pieces of text directly. So I can copy this first one, copy it, then paste. Go back, copy this other one too, then paste here. Then now we can run. In fact, even before that, I see we made another mistake here when we're sending the data. So maybe we can come to the view and we say if you don't give us if not topic, we can return a response. So I'll copy this and I paste there. So return, say detail topic is required, and the status will be equals to status dot bad request, like that. So let us test it again. Send the request, get a bad request, and you see the message topic is required. So let us add a topic here quickly. Say topic, let us say again Django Rest Framework, hit send. Of course, this will take some time. So of course, what could be taking time is actually this function here. If you're to get inside here and then look at, we have two calls to Ollama, this and this other one. So let's hope that works out well. And actually, I also realized something. Before returning the response from the serializer, we shall need to, it is good to always check if the serializer data is valid. Just like I think we did up here, this is a very good practice to do, or something to do. So when we come here, you see we have something, okay? Everything was created. When you see the topic is Django Rest Framework, generated text is this, okay? We have all the text generated. Wow, it's really huge. Probably would have put a limit. Then you see we have the tags. Says here are the 5 words extracted from the text as comma separated. Probably we should eliminate this first statement, okay? And maybe put a limit to the generated text. So we can go back to our views.py, rather services, and say, where is it? Extract 5 keywords from this. Then we from this as separate values. Then we say, just say do not add any other text to your response. Extract 5 keywords from that. So let us run this again and we see if it can do what we want. So far so good. What we need is to move now to, okay, looks like it's done. Let us see where we can record. When we scroll, all right, I see we don't get any other extra text. We only get our tags: serializers, view sets, API router, authentication, authorization. This is very nice. Then this call, and then we get a bunch of stuff. Of course, we can tweak this to make it even better, but you get the idea. So cool and so nice so far. So let's go ahead and implement one more endpoint. This time, what we can do probably is the summarization. Since we already have a service for it, I'm thinking we should implement that next. So let us create a class or a view called Summarization Content View. We'll just say summarize content view like that, and then this will inherit from the API view, and then we'll also have a number of permission classes, and shall say is authenticated. Okay, and of course this will also be another post request. So post self request. Then we can try accept exception as E, and then we can return when things go bad. We can say return a response, and this will be an error full colon str e, where E is the error object, and then the status that we shall return will be status dot internal server error, which is 500. Okay, then within here we can now pick the text to summarize. So the text will be request dot data dot get text. Then in a similar way we can do some basic validation, just like we did here. Come on, paste it there. Okay, so if not text, we say return text is required. And of course, it's a bad request. And then the summary will be equals to summarize content, and shall pass in the text to be summarized. And after that, we can return a response. Okay, so the response will be summary like that. So shall pass the summary to that, and then yeah, I think this is good enough. Maybe the status will be status dot 200. Shall say okay, 200. Okay, all right. So what is maybe remaining is for us to create that URL. I can come at urls.py and add a new path. This will be API / summarize dash content, and then put a /, and then we can say we need to import that view, summarize content view. So summarize content view dot as view, and the name of this view is simply summarize dash content, as simple as that. So let us test this endpoint. Get here. So we can try to summarize this text, all this. Okay, summarize all this. You need to pick the exact text only, but I can't seem to find it because the scrolling looks to be too fast. So up to there. Okay, so I'll come here and say text to summarize is all this that we just generated. Okay, then what else do we need? Can remove that. Then the endpoint will be summarize content. Hit send, says unauthorized, given token not valid, token content. Okay, that's great. Some reason I've failed to figure out how to save this. Say save. No, this is summarize. Summarize content. I wonder if they have been saved by Postman. Let's check here. There's actually nothing. All right, so let's get a new token quickly. So I'll copy all this. Go to API/token. We need to add more time for our key. Maybe I'll say it should expire in 50 minutes, 60 minutes, okay, which is of course an hour. And then you can save that, come back to what am I thinking about right here, and erase that. Say the username will be the test1 user, and then the password will be test1, and the email, if I remember correctly, will be test@gmail.com. So I'll say send. No active account found with given credentials. Was the password test, or was it test1 password? Wow, I remembered it correctly the last time. Maybe the email is test1@gmail. Change this to test1, run again. API/register, let's create a new user. What is that endpoint for registering? API/register. Given token, not. We don't need a token to create a user. Maybe the person, there's actually another user called test. Let's try with test and we see. But we need test1. How could I forget? Test, is it test password? And we actually don't need. There we are. So it's test password. So I'll remove or simply comment this so that I need it again. Copy the text we want to summarize this time. Scroll down, get our access token. Where is it? This one. Remove that, paste it, get back to the body, change this to summarize content. And of course, it's a post request. Then we just send our request. Says, I don't see any text provided. Could you please provide the text you'd like me to summarize? I'll do my best to condense it into 3 sentences. Okay. So looks like it's working. but this has not been received. So let's see what we have. Oh, so I see the issue. Are you seeing this? We need to make this an F string so that this can be passed here as a variable. So let's go back and send our request. And there we are. Okay. We have the summary. So here is the summary of the text in 3 sentences. Django Rest Framework is a Python, blah, 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 blah. So you see, working very well. Of course, we can tell it to eliminate this first introduction statement like we did using some statement here. Where is it? You say do not add any other text to your response. Okay. And that turned out very, very well. Nice. So let's go on to implement another view. So this view will be called the user content view. So shall say class user content view. And this view will inherit from generics. Okay, dot list API view to help us to list things quickly. And with the permission classes shall say, like always, is authenticated. And then the serializer class, you can specify it as the content serializer that we created, and then can define the query set. And for this query set, we shall simply return the content dot objects dot filter, where user would be equals to self dot request dot user, and we shall order them by the time they were created in reverse. Say minus created underscore at. As simple as that. Save. Go to urls.py and we can define a path. Say path API slash user content. So shall be retrieving what you created. Then the view, we need to import it, will be the user content view. Then here you can say user content view dot as view, and then the name will be equals to user content. So let's now test this. API slash user content, hit send. Says post not allowed, yes, because we are listing, so this would be get, send, and there we are. And actually you see it is paginated. Do you know why it is paginated? Because of this, the default pagination class and the page size that we configured at the beginning. So you see it says count of 2, next null, previous null, and the results we have 2. The ID of 2, the topic, Django Rest Framework, the text generated is that, okay, and the tags associated are those. When it was created is that date. Then we have that, okay, so we have the latest given us because we said order. What is that? Order by created at in reverse. Then what else do we have? The second one, still same topic, generated text, and you see the keywords. But of course, this time it has this statement, but we improved our prompt to eliminate it. This is why this one here only has this. You can actually create others, but I will not make this video very long. I'll move on to the other view that I want us to create. So the other view will be called the recommendation view. I think I find this very, very interesting. Recommendation view. And this view will also inherit from API view. And this will have a permission class, like we already know, which is authenticated. And of course, we shall have a post method just to save time. Maybe not post actually, but get. Shall say define get. and get will take in self, the request, and the content ID for whom we want to get the recommendation. Then if something goes wrong, we shall get the exception as E, and then we can simply return an awesome response saying an error occurred, and that error is this one. Okay. Or simply we can just simply say content not found. Content not found. And then here you can say the status will be equals to status dot, let's call it a bad request to keep things simple. Then here we can now fetch the target content, which will be content dot objects dot get. Okay, and the ID will be equals to ID. Want to fetch according to that content ID, and it has to be for a particular user. So it will be, this will be equals to request dot user, and then after that, to get the similar content, we shall similar underscore content. We shall say content dot objects dot filter. We shall get, we want similar content for this particular user, request dot user, and for the tags, we shall say tags underscore underscore overlap equals to target content dot tags. So if there's an overlap, if there's at least one item which is similar between the two, that will be returned. And then we shall need to exclude everything where the ID is equals to content underscore ID. Okay, cool. So we have to exclude them because it won't make sense to just return them when we are trying to recommend to you. You cannot recommend to you what you already have. Okay, what is already yours. And then maybe we can limit it. Let's only get 5. Okay, let's get 5. So yeah, shall return the topmost 5 recommendation. It shall say serializer is equals to content serializer. And then for this one, we can say pass in the similar content, and many goes to true. All right. What else? So of course, you can also implement this using this idea up here using a generic. Then we shall return a response, and this response will simply have the serializer data. Of course, the status is obvious. It will be status dot okay 200. So we can now come to urls.py and define a path. This path will be API / recom. Can I spell this correctly? Recommendation, like that. Then we shall have the ID, which will be content underscore ID. And this is, of course, an integer / then we need to import the content view, the recommendation view, and then shall say recommendation view dot as view, and then the name will be equals to recommendation, like that. So I'll copy this, go back here, paste that. So one get recommendation for which content. So let us say content with which ID. I'll introduce that. Say for maybe ID2 /2 and hit send. Error content not found. So at least we know that this is working, but why would it say that? Maybe we need to log this. Let me log, maybe using a simple print statement. I say error an if statement, just to be sure we are getting the exact error, find out what is actually going on. So I need to see the terminal. Cannot resolve keyword tag into field choices, created art, generated text, tags, ID. So yeah, we need to be careful sometimes on how you handle your exceptions, because this is actually a wrong message. Okay, but printing this actually showed me the exact thing. So handle this better when you're dealing with your projects in production. So the issue is actually here. It's not tag, but tags. So I'll save that. Hit back here, save. I mean, send the request. So if we go back to reduce this, okay. So we get a 200, okay, but nothing. Okay, we get an empty list. What does that mean? No recommendation. If we try with ID 1, hit send, we get a 200, okay, but also still no result. Okay, so to debug that, you can actually simply print out here. If you say print target content, send a request, and you expand this, you see get target content is Django Rest Framework. And then if you decide now to print the similar content, okay, copy that, then print, we find that we shall get a query set. Okay, we get a query set. So what we should be asking is why is, let me say query set 0, just out of curiosity, send list out of, let's see what was returned. Was it a list of query sets or a single query set? So that is okay. So if I now say serializer similar content, many equals to true, serializer data, why did that return nothing? Okay, so if I print that, we get that, have that there. Says content serial query set, many equals to true. So we have that, all that. Okay, but still here we're getting an empty response. Okay, if you just did something like that and send, you see we get something, but ours is not returning anything. Okay, so if you eliminate this, hit send, so some of the ways you can debug is by printing out things and trying to discover what went wrong. Okay, so if we, so you see, so we needed, of course, to use many equals to true. Actually, this has no issue. If you look at this critically, and I maybe print this, wasn't giving much attention to this. Probably I'm just tired. You see that the query is actually already empty. And actually, if you print serial data, you get an empty list. Okay, so you can play around with this and try to create things that can overlap.